This episode is dedicated to Jonathan Reckner, aka Balls Mahoney, Joni Laurer, aka China, and Prince Rogers Nelson, aka Prince.
Move on, move on, move on, move on. Find another love, find another love. I got to find another love. Used to think I was so much fun. Now I'm just the guilty one. Everything we used to share, our clothes and even our hair. All you see is what I did, but how come I can't tell me that kid? Behind my back, I'm just a so-and-so, but I'm the greatest living soul you'll never know.
It's another week, it's another great American cast, and very glad to be back with you on the interwebs. Tanner Acebo, of course, as always. I am joined by my co-host, Gary Lannister. Gary, what is going on?
It was a long day. It was a sad day. It is a day that will live in infamy. I say we start with the sad stuff
Yeah.
and move on to brighter thoughts.
Yeah, a day... Really, you look at 24 hours, or for those of you that were asleep when the news broke last night as we record this on Thursday night, that China has passed away, and we'll obviously touch more on that, but also we're going to talk about a big death that occurred today on Thursday, and that was the, iconic is a word that gets tossed around a lot. But I think this is a true icon in the music industry, and even something that transcended music, and as Prince passes away today.
Yeah, not to hit us with a bunch of controversy off the bat, and not to at all make light of terrorism or anything that's happened. I'm not joking right now. I'm being very serious with this. Not to make light of terrorism or anyone who's lost loved ones to the terrorist attacks, but the deep and abiding love that I have for Prince and the role that Prince played in my life. I'm actually writing an article about it right now. Just that feeling this morning when they said somebody at Paisley Park is dead. It was akin to when the first person comes up and says, "Did you hear about the bombing in Boston?" It's just this sinking feeling in your gut. You go, "What happened? Who's involved?" I don't know. It was just this horrible pit in my stomach, and some people just don't get it. They don't. And I'm not trying to belittle anyone that doesn't like Prince, because your tastes are your tastes. But I talked to someone, and for the benefit of their social life, I'm not going to out them on here, but they went at me pretty hard for my reaction to Prince. Why do you care? You never met him. And I was just like, you don't fucking get it. When you grow up and you're kind of an alienated young kid, and music is what you've got, and it's your respite from the fact that you're not athletic and you're not that fucking cool. You've got someone like Prince who's like, yeah, you're fine the way you are. You're cool, man. And it reverberates with you that way. No, I never met him. No, he's not a family member, but he might as well have been. His music had that much of an impact on my life. So it's, people can say it's silly all they want, but it's one of those things that in your heart, it's not ridiculous to feel this way.
No, not at all. And and almost in the way that the news came out, and that there was mystery around it, and then to find out, to have your worst fears confirmed, that it was Prince who had passed away. And when I was younger, I mean, the only Prince I really listened to when I was younger was the Batman soundtrack, Bat
yeah.
Dance, and 200 Balloons, I think, is what the B-side is. I already purchased it off of Etsy today on vinyl
Yeah.
on a 45, because that needed to happen.
Nice.
But
I bought Sign of the Times and Purple Rain on vinyl off Etsy today too.
like this, it's what needs to happen. But also, his performance on Saturday Night Live was something that drew me back into his music, and the last couple of albums that he released, his song Baltimore, which I the first time I heard it, I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I've since gone back and listened to it. And this is before he had passed away, obviously, but really enjoyed the song, and it has a very important message behind it too. But to the way I look at it, to not get a chance to see him in concert, or to really be able to experience his music live, is something that really will stick with me. Similar to David Bowie, who we've also lost recently.
Yeah.
Not having the missing on the opportunity to see them perform live is really something that I will regret for the rest of my life, to be honest.
Well, and they were the resident weirdos too, and they were so creative, and everything that they gave to the musical world. Like, I have a background in classical music, so the day Pavarotti died, I was like, oh, that's so sad. He was such a tremendous performer, and not a dig to him or his memory at all, but it's not like he wrote these songs and conceived of them himself. But that was David Bowie, and that was Prince. They were amazing collaborators. They were amazing songwriters and singers, and just
Performers,
yeah.
and really, I mean, you think about Prince obviously as this music symbol, but I mean his combination of writing and singing and guitar playing is really something that I don't think we'll ever see again. Such a unique style, while also being, I mean, mainstream enough. Like, it was a very, his style is something that I don't think we'll ever see again, especially with what popular music is at these days. Not to be an old geezer.
Oh, no, absolutely. I read an article on Deadspin today that said Raspberry Beret is the most perfect pop song of all time. And I absolutely agree. Like, it's one of the most arguably mainstream things that he did. And even that is just so wonderfully, it like revels in its own weirdness. It's just amazing. And it's hard to see, like, easy target Justin Bieber, but it's hard to see him ever doing anything that impactful. And it's just showing you that, like, these guys tried to pass the torch and we're just dropping it in a puddle.
And speaking of Deadspin, they're the ones who today, as today went on, they released they found video on the internet somewhere and hosted on their site of his halftime show performance, and also of that performance on SNL, which had since disappeared from the internet. So I don't know where. I don't know if maybe NBC hosted that back up again somewhere, but they had pulled it down and it was impossible to watch. But it did come back today, and if you haven't seen it, I suggest obviously watching both of those. And his infamous guitar solo on "While My Guitar Gently Weeps" from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame concert, I believe, the night before the induction, with that all-star cast. Really, I mean, as I said before, there'll never be another one, and I just feel like nobody was ready for it.
No. Nope.
And again, we'll talk about the untimely passing of China as well a little bit later on in the show. But to turn our attention to WWE here, Gary, the Payback card is beginning to fill out, and it looks like, for me at least, the matches look better than the matches we saw at WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah.
And B, I'm interested in the story they're telling in the main event, because they have left the door open for a couple of different possibilities, and that always makes for fun watching.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's we talked last week about is the Bullet Club GM going to come out and join Roman? Are they there for Finn? Are they there for AJ? And they've decided to roll AJ into this story, and it's like you really hit on last week when you said it's starting to feel more and more like when the Outsiders debuted in WCW. It's starting to feel a lot more like that, because now we've got this tease of, like, is AJ with them? Is Is this a turn that's being like very subtly played, or is he really not culpable at all? It's like Game of Thrones levels of intrigue here, and it's I don't know. There's just so many possibilities.
And they have announced, I think they announced it on SmackDown that aired this evening, that Anderson and Gallows will have their in-ring debut on Raw on Monday, and they'll take on the Usos. And, you know, a lot of people are speculating if this is a Roman Reigns full heel turn, which I have some thoughts on, I'll get to in a moment, but if this is a full Reigns heel turn, then the idea of him setting up the Usos is fantastic, because who would think that he would send these guys after his own family?
Yes, exactly. That would be such a great story, because you've got Roman sitting there being like, don't lie to me, AJ.
Yeah.
I know that these are your boys. You sent them after me. And so if you're AJ Styles and you didn't, in fact, send them after him, you're going to be like, hey, I know I'm innocent, but I have no idea what's going on. And then the whole time, it's like Triple H. Everybody holds him to this high standard as like the cerebral assassin, the heel that gets in your head and fucks with you. That would be an amazing layer to Roman, because the heel heat he would get off of that. He fucking lied. He sold out his own family, and then he's gonna use AJ's own friends against him. Like, that would be just the fucking triple chocolate cake of heel turns.
Yeah, it's the perfect way to do it. And Roman is already beginning to act heelish. I mean, it's been a slow burn, but as of what we saw Monday, and I'm not sure what happened tonight, obviously, on SmackDown as we record this, but it really reeks of a heel turn, the exchange that he had with AJ Styles in the ring, and then, of course, the backstage segment as well. And I think he's doing fantastic work in this, like, I guess you could say a dark babyface role at this point, because he's still being pushed as a babyface and presented as one.
Yeah.
But he's doing some great stuff, and I think that he's turning into somebody that if they do eventually turn him heel, that the people will not cheer him, which was, you know, kind of a feared reaction, I guess. Some people would say, well, if you turn him heel, then he's going to be badass and people will cheer for him. I think the people will continue to boo him, especially the way they're building him, and especially the kind of snide smirk that he can deliver in the ring and on camera.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's there's a number of ways you could go about it. I am kind of a fan of the meta stuff when they fold that in. So I think there's a great story that could be told about, it goes back to when Vince first came back on TV. I really thought the story was going to be Vince comes out as a babyface supporting Roman, and everyone's like, fuck this. He's so good as a heel, and now you're joined up with this asshole we don't like. We all know you fucking love him. So this is just going to be you trying to get him over with the power of McMahon and sucking his dick on TV. This is stupid. And then they both simultaneously turn. You turn the Authority babyface in having Vince and Roman kick them to the curb and be like, we're the new established order. I am Vince McMahon's handpicked champion. And I like the kiss-ass heel thing. You don't want to go too far into Seth Rollins / Edge territory. You still want him to be I know they want him to be a threat and they want him to be physically formidable, but you could definitely make him a sycophantic, like somewhere in between, the corporate champion Rock and Seth Rollins with the Authority. You could do something like that with him that would be really interesting, but I think they're definitely going with a more story-driven approach to this, obviously. So I'm curious to see how that pans out.
And there's legitimate intrigue going into a main event. And that is something that we've been crying out for. I mean, obviously, the WrestleMania build-up, everybody knew that was coming out of that. Everybody knew what was going on going back to when they took the belt off Reigns.
Oh, yeah.
All the way back to there at the Royal Rumble, and even before then, when they announced that he would be defending the belt in the match.
Which, can we just pause on something real quick?
Yes.
Because I just don't understand it. So, the timeline is everybody hates Roman. Roman wins at Survivor Series. He beats Dean to win, so that's, a whole fucking bag of issues. Sheamus cashes in. Sheamus wins. They have this transitional feud, Sheamus and Roman. Roman wins it back on Raw that night, and he's a fucking golden god. They carried him around like Peter Gabriel.
Yeah.
And so you have all that, and then the second he loses it at the Rumble to Triple H, everyone's back to like, fuck this guy. I just want to know what happened to change everybody's mind on Roman. Why aren't you mad at the company for interrupting that run? Why are you mad that all of a sudden he's chasing again? I just don't. I guess I don't understand. I feel like I missed 8 episodes. You know what I mean?
Well, what if the boos are the fans' misplaced frustrations at how it has come? What if the boos represent the fans being like, well, you wasted so much of our fucking time. If the end game was for Reigns to win the belt at Mania, and that's where you coronate him, why'd you fuck around and put the belt on him and then take it back off him?
Yeah, I just, it's one of those, I feel like we're stuck between Scylla and Charybdis here with the fan reaction and then the shitty foresight on part of WWE. It's like you can't fucking win.
Well, I mean, it just reeks. It just reeks of them, just like long-term booking. WrestleMania 32 in Dallas. We put the strap on Reigns. Okay, how do we get there? Oh shit, our ratings suck. Well, we gotta put the belt on Reigns now. Oh shit, we gotta take the belt off Reigns now. So fans knew for so long what was gonna be taking place at WrestleMania 32, and he's been at the top of the main event scene for so long as well that it just it boiled over. And of course, there are also some fans out there that just like to boo Roman Reigns. We're not gonna classify everybody as the people that went through this thought process.
Right.
I mean, also on this Payback card, we're gonna get Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens for the first time in a singles match on the main card. And I like the fact that it's not for a belt. I like the fact they moved Owens away from the IC belt because you have a feud that's going to draw no matter what. So why not put the belt over on somebody else and give them a feud for that belt? Because Owens and Zayn, hardware on the line or not, they're going to bring it.
Oh, definitely. Because I think if you did like Cesaro Miz without a title on the line, that's, no disrespect to either of them because they're great. I mean, Miz is not the wrestler that Cesaro is, but you definitely need some more stakes in that match, particularly while they're trying to build Cesaro, which is what it looks like.
Yeah.
The new James Bond entrance and the tearaway suit, so great.
Yeah, he enters from all the way on the right, and they have that James Bond style. What is it? It's supposed to be the inside of a gun barrel closing.
Yeah, it looks like an aperture on a camera, but I guess it's supposed to be a gun barrel.
So I think that they've brought Cesaro back and put him in a very, a high spot on the card in terms of how the fans can show their appreciation for him. We'll see if he does win the belt, what he does with it, what kind of shine he puts on that belt. Because the secondary belts, as we'll talk about a little bit later, could really use some guys with power holding them. I mean,
I would almost like to see Cesaro come up short at Payback, likely Maurice interference, and stretch this out to Extreme Rules, because Miz and Cesaro at Extreme Rules could have a fucking crazy match.
Yeah, if they did some sort of stip on it, that'd be awesome.
Oh, totally.
Or if they work the finish of this match to tell the story of the stip for Extreme Rules.
Yeah,
if you were to have the Miz maybe run away and lose by count out, you could have a lumberjack match. That's just an example, but you could really, this could serve as the holdover match to get you to your stip match at Extreme Rules.
Yeah, definitely. That, I've got to say, Extreme Rules is one of my favorites. I'm just a sucker for, we're going to beat the nuts out of each other. And I know it's not the most refined form of wrestling, but I don't know. Tickles my taint.
I like it too, but I feel like you have the pay-per-view set with all these crazy matches. I'm just over pay-per-views named for the extreme matches, because we still have extreme matches outside of Extreme Rules.
Right.
So you can get kind of oversaturated, I guess. But I enjoy it as well, and I enjoy the fact that they have switched Payback and Extreme Rules around on the calendar, because the name Payback makes a lot more sense coming after WrestleMania than coming after Extreme Rules. So I'm glad they've kind of fixed that chronologically.
Yeah, why don't you just call it Revenge is a Dish Best Served Cold at that point? So yeah, that was a good bit of show shuffling.
It used to be Backlash, I think it works. other matches on the card, we're going to get Dean Ambrose and Chris Jericho. Dean beats Owens clean on Raw, but Jericho is the one who stands tall to end the show on the TV portion, coming out and delivering the fuckbuster to Dean.
The chode breaker?
Yeah. So, how excited are you for Jericho and Ambrose?
Without sounding ungrateful, because I do like both performers, I'm not.
Yeah.
And I have no other real reason other than I don't know. In my head, it sticks out as like match quality is going to be an issue. And again, not that either of them can't have a great match. It's just if this were 2002 Chris Jericho and Dean Ambrose, I think you've got some legitimate intrigue. But I don't know. Jericho's just kind of looked a little. What's the word I'm looking for? Because again, I always hesitate to critique their in-ring performance because, like I always say, I could not do any better, and I appreciate the effort that they put in. But I think age is catching up to him, and I know he hasn't been injured as chronically as other people, but Jericho's just looking a little slower these days.
And I think how long his feud with AJ Styles started to expose that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, had AJ Styles beat Chris Jericho at WrestleMania, I would be excited for this feud, but there's just a sinking feeling inside me thinking that Jericho's going to beat Dean clean in the ring. Clean Dean.
Yeah. The clean Dean.
He's going to give him the clean Dean and beat him 1, 2, 3.
Have they said how long we can anticipate Jericho sticking around this time?
No, and I remember before when he came back, the rumors were that it was a short-term thing because he's going to be going back on tour. And then he came out and said, no, I'm back for the long haul, baby. And I think that was the last time I heard discussion about how long he'd be around for. And that was pre-Rumble.
Yeah, you're right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he's around until after SummerSlam.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And he's also a guy that, again, you could have put Reigns, I love Reigns and AJ as a feud, but he's a guy you could have put Reigns into a feud with right off the bat, holding the belt, with Jericho as a heel to try to get Roman over as a face. But anyway, Charlotte's going to be taking on Natty, and they're doing the redux of the NXT thing with Rick in Charlotte's corner and Bret the Hitman Hart in Natty's corner. Making his first public appearance, I think, since his cancer surgery.
Oh, yeah.
So that will be, sure, that match will be great. I am afraid that we're going to get some sort of physicality between Bret Hart and Ric Flair.
Oof.
And that's something I really don't want to see. Not as a fan saying that it wouldn't be quality television, as a person that's like, Bret Hart is, he's been through a fuck ton. And Ric Flair is not young. I don't need to see these guys bumping for each other anymore.
It's going to look like a fucking bar fight at the VFW, you know what I mean?
Well, and I can just go back on the WWE Network and watch them, in their prime or close to their prime, facing off against each other. I don't need to see this in 2016. It's not safe. There's no point. And at that point as well, if they do give us something like that, you're taking away from the story that you're actually trying to tell, and that's Charlotte and Natty.
It's not about them, exactly. And that's the thing that I think is kind of cool. Put myself over for a second, is that I'm like infinitely more excited for the match that the women are going to have than the fact that Flair and Hitman are going to be cornering them.
Yeah. And what if, I don't know, I don't see them taking the belt off Charlotte here. But if they did, they could do something where Ric Flair is trying to interfere, he reaches in and grabs Natty's leg or the ref's leg or something, and then Bret Hart comes over and just grabs Ric Flair. That's fine. Something like that. But no, I don't want to see them bumping for each other. But they can physically interact. I just wanted to draw the line there.
Yeah, and if Bret's there... Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, they could tell the story of Bret being the one to stop Ric Flair. However, I think the money is in Snoop Dogg showing up at SummerSlam and being the one to stop Ric Flair and getting Sasha the win at SummerSlam.
God, you just sold me on that.
I think that's the moment that you could build to. No, I don't think they're thinking of it. To be honest, I just thought of it 3 seconds ago. But I think that's where the ultimate money is. But I'm excited for this match.
Yeah, me too, for sure.
And then the other announced match is Enzo and Big Cass against the Vaudevillains, or the Vaudevillians.
And the Vaudevillians!
Stop it, Jason. Vintage Corey Graves.
He was so confident about it. He's like, yeah, let me tell you something about the Vaudevillians. It's just like, damn it.
Corey Graves finally had enough. We're talking about vintage NXT. Well, not vintage, but older NXT. Go back and watch, people.
Feels vintage.
But we're having 2 NXT acts face off for the chance to face the New Day at an event in the future.
Yeah.
Maybe a Raw.
That?
How about this? The tag belts haven't been defended for the last 2 pay-per-views.
Yeah, God, you're right.
Also, I mean, let's talk about this tag before we talk about the next thing I was going to bring up, which is Rysack. But, I mean, are we going to get the Vaudevillains going over here because the Dudley Boys attack Enzo and Big Cass, bring them off into a feud?
See, that's exactly when Jeff and I were watching Raw this week, that's exactly what I said, because he was getting really excited. He's like, oh man, Enzo and Cass are it's going to be this long feud with New Day, and it's going to be this great battle on the mic between Enzo and Xavier, and Big E's a great hype man, and I totally agree with all that, but my take on it is exactly what you just said. I think your money is in that feud, so the more you can prolong that kind of thing, the better. So I don't necessarily know that they're going to ever put the titles on the Vaudevillains, but I can definitely see the Vaudevillains picking up a win. Like you said, Dudley Boy interference, Vaudevillains become your new number 1 contenders. You could have them, that gets you to Extreme Rules. But the thing is, those are, I don't know, the Vaudevillains to me, as much as I love them, I just don't see that gimmick. And not that I don't believe in the gimmick. I think with some tweaks, it's perfectly mainstream. But I just don't see it in Extreme Rules. And that's like a very screenwritery thing for me to say. It's just like, I don't envision it that way. But I just don't see them like beating the shit out of Kofi Kingston with a fucking, length of chain. You know what I mean?
I also think they're not going to give the Vaudevillains a title match on pay-per-view. I think it's going to come on Raw. Or maybe even on SmackDown, to be honest. I don't know.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And now, this might be a dumb question, but does every match on Extreme Rules take place under the Extreme Rules pretense, or is it... Because they could have a straight match on Extreme Rules in theory.
I think it's whatever suits the story. I mean, because, like, Sheamus and Dolph had the Kiss Me Arse match at Extreme Rules, didn't they?
Yeah.
And that was just like, if you lose, you have to suck my butt.
And was also that the Seth Orton match where the RKO was banned and it was a cage match?
Possibly. I don't know. That's a good question.
Out of Mania last year, and then Rollins RKO'd Orton.
The most memorable match to me was, Reigns and Big Show had a good match.
They had a great match, yeah.
That was awesome. But the Russian chain match was the one that stole my heart.
Oh my God.
Anything Rusev does, I'm going to love.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit if he goes and pulls down his trunks and takes a big old aquaplop right in the middle of the mat.
And speaking of Rusev, there's so far nothing for the League of Nations on this card.
Yeah.
Any of their members.
Up?
Yeah, I think they have to break up. But I think their breakup has to be something that you're not just doing it to break them up. I think you have to break them up and know exactly where they're going to go afterwards. And it's something I don't give WWE enough credit for.
No. See, I'm so bummed they didn't do with Rusev what I secretly hoped they would do, which is like a Eurotrash spin on Val Venus, where they were going to make him like a super duper ladies man. So he's got like gold chains nestled in all that Bulgarian chest hair, and he's wearing those fucking tracksuits. He's got, Summer Rae as the side piece, and then there's Lana, and like, I thought they were gonna, or I didn't think they would ever do that. I mean, not that they wouldn't, because we've seen in the past that they don't give a fuck. They'll use women and sex and demeaning angles all they want. But I was really just kind of hoping they'd turn Rusev's gimmick into like that of a fucking kind of clueless gigolo. And I was really disappointed when that never happened, because now he's just a guy.
He's just a guy, and he's a guy with no match and, ostensibly no direction. there's one thing I want to talk about before we get to the Bray Wyatt injury, but I do want to just say that, obviously, the League of Nations was lined up for a feud with the Wyatts heading into Extreme Rules before Bray's injury, so that could have something to do, or a lot to do, or everything to do with the fact that they're not on the card. Mm-hmm. But there's one thing I want to touch on, and that is Rye Crinklesack. He defeats Kalisto clean on SmackDown, and they shoot an angle where he holds the belt up after. We're getting this feud back from WrestleMania after there was no mention of it whatsoever anywhere. Nobody
even been on the last 2 Raws.
No,
Well, Kalisto was for the
just for the injury angle.
tournament.
For the injury angle.
Yeah.
And also, why the fuck is Kalisto out there trying to win a less than belt?
Yeah.
This makes no sense, people. So yeah, they have this match on SmackDown, and Ryback wins clean. So, in technicality, that's 50-50 booking, because Kalisto beat Ryback the last time we saw the two in the ring, and now Ryback wants a belt shot. Could this be a potential kickoff match for Payback?
Oh, well. We should be so lucky.
And does Ryback fucking win? Who gives a fuck at this point, but does Ryback win? What is the U.S. belt worth?
Exactly. Kalisto was a hot bowl of soup, and they set a giant, clunky, stupid-ass, over-muscled fan that is Ryback in front of it and cooled it right the fuck off.
They turned tomato soup into gazpacho.
Yeah, and I fucking hate gazpacho.
Yeah, gazpacho's fucked.
Shout out to my sister who thought Dolph Ziggler's name was gazpacho. She's like, who's one of your favorite guys? His name's like, I don't know, gazpacho or something?
You got the Z.
I was like, you're like, 10% right.
Yeah. So yeah, they're gonna be, and apparently, speaking of gazpacho, are we gonna see Ziggler and Baron Corbin at Payback as well? Because they're setting up for that feud.
Yeah, oh yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if that gets put on the pre-show.
Yeah, I'm on the Wikipedia page because we're obviously legit, and I'm looking, and they have 7 matches listed, but the 7th one is the New Day versus To Be Announced, which obviously Wikipedia is not official in any way, but what if they were to shoot something where they did the tag team finals on the pre-show, and the winners face the New Day on the regular show?
See, that adds to some intrigue / confusion depending on what your knowledge of the product is. Because I saw something that said Enzo and Cass and the Vaudevillains are going to face off on Raw for the right to face New Day at Payback for the titles.
Wow, because they definitely said on Raw that it was going to be a Payback, their match.
Yeah, on Raw, the graphic said Vaudevillains and Port Authority will duke it out at Payback for a right for the number 1 contendership down the road. But then a bunch of the stuff I'm seeing indicates that has changed, but I don't know. No one knows. Misinformation, a momentary lapse in reason. Who knows?
Good album.
Yeah.
We could see the tag match on this show, and if that were the case, and it is the Vaudevillains, maybe we would see Enzo and Cass in a match against the Dudleys. However, I think that would also be doomed for the pre-show. Mm-hmm. We've been talking about the Becky and Emma. They might be heading for a match on the pre-show as well.
So is Emma working? Is she splitting her time between NXT and WWE at this point? Because we haven't seen her on Raw yet, have we? Since Mania?
Correct. When she came back, I think she came back on Main Event. Because I was there when she came back. I was in the building. It was in Boston, as we talked about a couple shows ago. But I think her comeback was on Main Event. So I feel like that kind of gave you the level that they see her at the moment. Ugh. So I know, and yeah, it's fucked. But I wouldn't be surprised if they shot some angle on Raw on Monday where she showed up and attacked Becky Lynch, and boom, there it is. Shane has announced that Becky gets a match against Emma.
Oh. See, that would be such a good match, too.
Oh, yeah.
Holy moly.
That'd be fantastic. And it would give us more than one women's match on the card, and it would give us 2 good women's matches. However, we have nothing for Sasha at this point.
Right, yeah. That is a sticky wicket.
And there are a lot of people complaining about the 8-woman tag match on Raw from this past Monday. And here's what I'll say. Is that this show from London is basically a house show.
Mm-hmm.
So they're getting as much talent out there as they can. And we essentially got house show finishes. We got Dean beating Kevin Owens clean in the fucking ring, for God's sake. When was the last time Dean won clean on a goddamn Raw? We're getting a house show. And what do house shows have? They have 8 Diva tag matches on the undercard, or 6 Diva tag matches. I think it's 8. And then they have Charlotte defending a triple threat. Yeah. So we got the best of both worlds in the fact that we got Charlotte, Becky, and Sasha all in this tag match. But the tag match is coming, people. The tag match is coming. Tag matches have to happen sometimes.
Exactly. That's the thing I don't understand is they're like, this is such a blow to progress. It's like, really? Because guys are in fucking multi-man tag matches all the goddamn time, and it doesn't hurt them.
Cesaro had a huge pop for his multi-man tag match on Monday with the New Day, and that was a great moment.
Oh my god, that was awesome.
When he tore off the suit, and I think it was, I read on Cage Side Seats on the recap, and it was like, yeah, an angle like that is what makes wrestling fun. And, like, that's 100% correct. Stuff like that, when you can get excited about stuff like that, that's fun. I had so much fun watching Raw on Monday night.
Yeah, me too. The last 2 have been pretty goddamn fun.
Super fun. There are definitely still complaints to be had, but it's not the doom and gloom that we're used to. Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt expected to be out 4 to 6 weeks with the calf injury. That news comes out today, actually this morning. I think that puts him back in time for Extreme Rules. Let me look. It's possible for him to return in enough time for Extreme Rules. I mean, the Wyatts have been wrestling, I think, on Main Event in his absence. By the Wyatts, I mean the 2 that are left. The Vintner, as Brian Alvarez refers to him as.
Thorif Marius.
And Braun Strowman. I think we shouldn't see them on Raw at all. Or SmackDown even. Until Bray Wyatt comes back.
No.
There's no point. There's no point.
Literally, they should just do like a skit where someone goes to get something out of the broom closet and they're just standing in there with sheets over their heads, like parked until Bray comes back.
Yeah. Resume when Bray returns.
Yeah. Don't open till Extreme Rules is like hanging on their necks.
Yeah. There's your Extreme Rules ad right there. Obviously wish Bray Wyatt a speedy recovery. Obviously one of our personal favorites in the ring, on the mic, everything. The guy's got it. And it just really sucks because they were ready to really prime him as a babyface to have this injury happen.
Yeah. God, the timing is just poop city. I think they should just keep, every time he comes back with a new family member.
Oh, not to forget, they followed your stip on Monday night with the Social Outcasts and Apollo Crews.
They finally did it.
They did it. I was watching and I was like, oh my god, Gary Stipp, they're doing it.
Dude, they should have had him lose that match by malfeasance. And so he does have to join them, and he gradually takes it over and turns them into, he fixes the Social Outcasts. And then beats the fucking shit out of them and leaves. That would have been amazing.
Speaking, and that was squash matchy. One other thing that's stuck in my craw about Raw, no pun intended, was that old Fandango got some offense in on Baron Corbin. And I mean, I get why, I was like, why are they going outside the ring? Why is Baron Corbin not hitting the end of days? Because he threw Fandango into Dolph Ziggler like a lawn dart.
Yeah. But
I just still feel like Fandango shouldn't get any offense in, and Baron Corbin should have just chucked him out of the ring of his own accord.
Seriously, he should have done like Mr. Slave in South Park and just climbed the top rope, jumped up, and just Dan Fango goes right up his ass. Never to be seen again.
We were talking about the social outcasts. Adam Rose, one of 2 wrestlers, WWE superstars, to be suspended for their second violation of the WWE wellness policy. It was Connor from the Ascension, the other one that got nipped. And these things come out every once in a while, and it seemed very ho-hum. But we had kind of exchanged texts this week about this. Adam Rose comes out on Twitter. This was yesterday, and he puts out a lengthy response in which he says things like, I feel the absolute need and right to respond and let the truth be known. I am pretty sure this response will meet nowhere near the publicity that my suspension did, and that this response is tantamount to career suicide.
Wow.
My actual response and doctor's response will be coming soon. Before you judge, know the facts. He says he did not do anything knowingly wrong and was taking prescribed medication that his doctor and he followed all the correct protocol on. My response will be up soon with my doctors. Again, that's all, mixed and matched. The official statement from Adam Rose is up on his official Twitter account, and that's the last tweet that he sent out. So it's very easily gettable at WWE Adam Rose to find that. But, here's a guy that, he's pretty late in the game in terms of his wrestling career. He's in a pretty low spot on the card. He says in here somewhere he has zero anger or animosity against the WWE, but this could be somebody standing up for the undercard guys who are seemingly the only ones who get suspended by this policy, or reprimanded by this policy.
That is true. The well-known, what am I trying to say? I'm totally tongue-tied because something just shot under my door and scared the shit out of me. It's well known that Randy Orton and Jack Swagger, I think, are the 2 who were busted a bunch of times for pot.
I think that pot doesn't fall under the wellness policy. I thought I had.
Yeah, and wasn't it because of them that was, well, not necessarily Jack Swagger, but definitely Randy.
Randy?
Wasn't that, I feel like it was an adjustment because of that.
Oh, well, I
could be talking out of my
ass.
No,
I wouldn't put it past WWE. I would not put it past them.
Oh my goodness. The thing that was just slipped under my door is a hot news item.
Oh, what's up?
We will get to in a little bit. I'm going to tease the viewers a little bit.
Oh.
But let me tell you that it is hot breaking news. It is a bakery fresh little tidbit, and pardon my français, but fucking shit.
It's another Yacht Rock quote for you people out there, and if you haven't been paying goddamn attention, we're playing Yacht Rock quotes every episode of this show.
You gotta watch it.
Watch it, for God's sake. Before we take our first break here, I just want to, again, do a little bit of a tease. We're going to get into this more in depth. But Conor McGregor seemingly announced his retirement. Was it two days ago? Was it yesterday? No, 2 days ago. I don't know. What day was it? Gary?
I think it was 2 days ago because I was sweating my ass off in the parking lot of HEB. Because my dad called to be like, this fucking asshole Conor McGregor. You believe this guy?
So Conor McGregor retired a couple days ago. And that's all we're going to say about it. We're going to take a quick break here on the Great American Cast. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to talk more about it, but we got to take a quick break ski here. And we'll be back in just a moment with Conor McGregor news. News of more, obviously, untimely passings of pro wrestling greats. And we will talk about the upcoming Ring of Honor card. That's all coming up next.
Fuck this smooth music, Steve! I ain't ever born no more. Understand? How am I supposed to stick my dick into some pussy? Well, you got me singing like one. Ain't that right, Eddie? hard rock has got me and Eddie drilling more coots than Black and Decker.
We were given a job to write a smooth song for this album, and Toto sees its assignments through.
Not this one.
Fucking fat.
Say no more, Steve. I will do anything for smooth music.
We're back with you on the Great American Cast, Tanner Acebo, Gary Lannister, and the beauty of recording this show at any given fucking time, on any given fucking day, is that Gary and myself can plan on talking about Conor McGregor fucking around Dana White, but when you get Bakery Fresh news slid under your door while we're recording it, we gotta cover this, and dare I say it might be the first professional wrestling podcast on the scene in terms of this coverage. Gary, what the fuck just happened?
Well, the big ticket news item coming out of NXT Lowell is that Samoa Joe captured the NXT Championship by defeating champion Finn Balor with a muscle buster. That is right, we have a new NXT champion.
And they did it at a house show. Something that WWE, then F, was kind of known for. And I am not going to say that I don't like the idea of doing this, because now you can, as from a business angle, you can pitch NXT as a brand where anything can happen anywhere. On the main roster, you know that no title belt is getting changed at a house show, but now in NXT, anything can fucking happen.
Well, and apparently it was recorded for posterity's sake too, and it will air in some form on NXT. So even if you weren't there, you get to see it. So eventually we'll get to see this.
So now we got to do some more talking about Payback.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you have freed up Finn Balor from NXT. From what I'm seeing here, there was kind of a send-off moment after the match. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Finn Balor shows up at Payback. The question is now, who the fuck is he siding with? What the fuck is going to happen here, Gary? There's so many things they can do now. If he doesn't show up at Payback, they're fucking idiots. But let's go under the assumption that he's going to show up.
Yep.
So, I gotta get my pen out. All right. So let's say scenario 1. What, like we talked about earlier. Gallows and Anderson side with Reigns.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So does that mean...
So they side with Reigns.
Balor comes up to bail out AJ?
Exactly. Or is Balor the one that jumps Reigns? I mean, jumps AJ. So, yeah.
Oh,
see
my
there.
goodness.
So we're getting 2 extra things potentially right off the bat there. Wow. So, we got Finn plus AJ, or we have Finn plus Roman. All right, number 2. Gallows and Anderson show up and interfere on the behalf of Styles.
Oh, yeah, you're right. And then Finn comes to even the odds. Yeah.
Finn comes out and he's a babyface with Roman. Or Finn comes out and fucking aligns with them and they just all beat the dick out of Roman Reigns.
That would be the best.
This is really... They kept teasing it. They kept teasing that something big was going to happen at this house show. I'm very glad as somebody that lives in the Northeast still, Gary. But it is from here as well that a cool moment like that could happen down in Lowell, Massachusetts tonight. But Samoa Joe, unless they play hot potato with the belt, which I don't see Finn winning the belt back. I can't.
No.
I can't. Samoa Joe's going to be the face of NXT for a little while, and that is great. It's a bummer we're not going to get him on the main roster, but we're at least getting somebody out of that Joe and Balor feud on the main roster finally.
Yeah, totally. I don't know, my head is still... I feel unprepared for this scenario. My head is swimming with possibilities, and just... I can see the one that I'll tell you I hope happens. I hope it's Finn. I hope it's heel Finn, because it's a clean slate coming out on Raw.
Yes.
We need bad mamma jamma fucking heels. So if we tease that, like, well, maybe AJ really is behind the Gunn and Gallows attacking Roman and attacking the Usos and attacking everybody else. And you tease that right up to the last second. And then you just, you literally, it'd be like a classic television trope where you make it look like this was all absolutely AJ's doing. And then at the last second, they turn on him. And they just beat the fucking nuts out of him. And then cue Finn Balor. And Finn just comes out. And don't even tease that, like, he's good and he's there as an equalizer.
Yeah.
I like if you just roll him right out. You could even roll him right out. Like, I know that the demon paint is only used for his pay-per-view matches, but you could do something in between his leather jacket entrance and the demon entrance where it's just this momentous smoke and light show moment where he just comes out like he's ready to murder everybody, and Bullet Club just falls in behind him, and they all make the guns at Roman and AJ. Put the whole roster on notice.
Yes, and that's why Bulletproof Balor Club will work there.
Yeah.
Maybe. Have we been not giving them enough credit? Am I putting the egg before the chicken here? But have we not been giving them enough credit? If they pull off something like this, and the Bulletproof Balor Club and all that shit that's been going on for months was all the build up to this, and they just sneakily did it behind the scenes, and then, whoop, pulled the string on getting Finn out of NXT, and pull it off at Payback on Sunday. How crazy would that be?
That would be a legendary angle, akin to what you've been saying about the debut of the Outsiders. Like, you can have that moment, like, where Hogan came down and dropped the leg on Savage. Like, I don't know. You've just got a historic moment in the making there, and the birth of a new stable, the dawn of a new era on the main roster. I mean, the matches that Finn Balor's going to put on with anybody.
And now there's something that just came to mind that I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that Finn Balor is going to be a Triple H guy. And that Triple H is going to come out, and it's going to be Triple H and Steph and Vince against Shane.
See, I say keep the authority out of it.
But I don't think they should be in it. But just what happens if they do? Because Finn is an NXT guy. You can make the case that Triple H is the guy that still ultimately signed Gallows and Anderson.
That's true. Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. I didn't mean to make it seem like, well, you're advocating for a dumb thing.
No. But I'm just I've become somber now because with the ability to produce great things, the WWE can also turn around and do what they do a lot of the time, and just make it about the McMahons again.
Vince giveth and Vince taketh away. So, yeah, I don't know. But color me fucking crapping my Huggies excited for Payback. Yeah.
A lot of intrigue going to be going into this show. Now we can go back and talk about Conor McGregor, I guess.
Yes.
So, Conor McGregor, he announces that he's retiring, and now today, again, Thursday as we record this show, he releases a lengthy statement through his Facebook page or Twitter or both simultaneously. I'm not sure if one came out before the other. But he releases a lengthy thing that says, in the end, in all caps, I am not retired. He's ready for UFC 200, even though Dana White already said that he took him off the card, and then Dana White reiterated it today. And this UFC and pro wrestling, they share so many parallels, and that's why we decided to talk about this on this show. And Conor McGregor is such a good promo, which obviously we also see a lot in pro wrestling, but there was some speculation that McGregor could be making a move to the WWE, obviously the lightest of speculation there. But I just like to get your opinion on this whole McGregor situation in the UFC, and what you think of him trying to take them maybe hostage in terms of money and their response to it.
Here's what I think. He's the greatest pro wrestling heel to never set foot within the squared circle. Because I absolutely fucking hate this guy. When I read that statement, now I'll preface it with this. I understand what he's saying about when he makes the point that promotional duties have taken away from the time that he would dedicate to training, that it may have felt like he lost a step because he was too focused on that, and that led to his defeat at the last pay-per-view. There have been similar arguments made about Ronda Rousey losing to Holly Holm, that she lost focus, she was too set on her burgeoning Hollywood career and promotion for UFC, and the actual training and what it takes to stay sharp and to stay at the top of the rock pile hard
as fuck.
That it started to take a back seat to all of these extraneous duties. I understand that. I absolutely do, because it's like being in school and working a job. Your studies might suffer, or your performance at work might suffer. But here's the thing. Promotion is a part of what they do. When they sign these contracts, and you can argue whether they're fair or not. I read a bunch of articles that said, like, this guy is a UFC fighter by night, but he's a cable installer by day. What the fuck, Dana White? And if that's the case, and that's not hyperbole, which in the age of the internet, it's completely impossible to suss out what's real and what's not, unless you do all the research yourself. But I understand that maybe there are issues with pay, and that maybe fighters aren't getting what they think they're owed. However, when you sign these contracts, you are obligated to promote the company. You are obligated to do these things. So for him, A, to think he's above that, and B, to then call everybody else, every other fighter, male and female, on the card, in the company, dancing monkeys, like he's any fucking better than them as a human being. On a biological level, he's better than them because they willingly do the promotion knowing it's part of the deal. He doesn't think he should have to. That's fucking shitty. It's one thing to come out and say, I don't like doing it, it's fucking up my fights, and to be a baby about it. But when he brought everyone else into it and said, let the other trained monkeys dance, or whatever the fuck he said, fuck you, dude. You are a piece of trash. So in that sense, he elicited the biggest heel reaction from me, because I know he could kick my ass even though he's like a third my height, but I would still like to get one good fucking hit in there, or hit him with my car, because that was a bunch of inflammatory garbage. Yes, he deserves to die, and I hope he burns in hell.
Yeah, I mean, he's turned into cutting promos, from cutting promos onto his opponents to cutting promos on the UFC. He's turning Dana White into... He is currently Stone Cold Steve Austin to Dana White's Vince McMahon. If you look at it, and the people that are backing him, at least.
Oh, they're totally analogous. And but here's another interesting tidbit with this whole thing. So do you remember in that whole missive that he sent out where he said, at my own expense, I flew an entire team to Iceland?
Yes.
Train?
Portugal, then Iceland.
Portugal, then Iceland.
Yeah.
I read an interesting thing, and I don't know whether it's true or not, but somebody was speculating, and maybe speaking from knowledge, but they said the reason that he flew everybody at cost to Iceland was because it's such a small country with such a small amount of travel going on that you can check in on when people are coming and going. So if someone's going to come from the organization that tests for performance-enhancing drugs, if you get a ping for that, you're going to know about it before they get to you.
Wow.
So that was someone's take on it, is that it was a way for him to... It was an offshore performance-enhancing drugs sleepaway camp. And whether you believe that's the truth or not, and he was trying to use that to gain an edge, the fact remains that he's being a dick, and he's trying to hold UFC over a barrel, and I'm not defending Dana White, I'm not defending UFC. I think it's a bunch of, highly paid dickheads trying to see whose dick-shaped head is bigger and dickier. And I don't know. It just pisses me off.
I feel like the UFC they're going to stick to their guns on this one. I don't see them folding, even though the fact that he's arguably the biggest fighter they've ever had. But Dana White can't fold to this. The UFC can't fold to this. I mean,
no.
It's akin to a pro hockey player calling out the NHL, or a pro baseball player calling out the MLB. You can't... Stuff like this, you can't do this. You can't... And when it happened, I wanted to believe that it wasn't a publicity stunt and that he actually was retiring, because I don't like cheap tricks like this. I don't know.
Which he admitted he was like,
Yeah.
oh no, I tripled their business with one tweet. And it's like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's-
you want a fucking cookie, dude?
Yeah, kind of taking your whole audience hostage. Out of that, we touched on it earlier in the show. Obviously Prince passes away today, but there have been some untimely deaths in the pro wrestling realm. First off, Balls Mahoney passes away, and now the team of Axl Rotten and Balls Mahoney are both gone. The ECW guys.
Yeah, that's true. You know, and obviously he passed last week, and I think we just got caught up in a lot of other things. We definitely meant to cover it, and unfortunately time got away from us, so we wanted to make sure this week that we paid tribute to him. Because, like I said, some people think ECW is a lowbrow form of graps, but I think it was, in a lot of ways, it was very innovative. And I think every performer that came through ECW had a part in that. As much as you can say it was Paul Heyman's baby, he had to have the guys to utilize, and Rotten and Mahoney were definitely part of that. And it's sad. Whenever anyone passes for whatever reason, if you lived clean and you died, or your demons got the best of you and you died, it's always tough to be reminded how fleeting everything is. And sometimes we get so wrapped up in, this angle fucking sucks, and this fucking company, and it's, this character. Like, I would feel really bad if I found out, and I'm not making light of suicide, but I would feel horrible if I found out, like, Ryback found this podcast and listened to it and was like, well, time to end it all. And
Yeah.
like, we knew that was it. Like, it's like, nothing against the guy. It's nothing against
What's his name?
Reeves.
Ryan. Yeah, Ryan. Yeah, no, nothing against him at all,
I-
or anybody that we talk about.
Exactly. If anybody as a human that we're critical of, it's of Vince McMahon, or
And that's not Vince McMahon the character. That's Vince McMahon the person. So
exactly, or Paul Levesque or Stephanie McMahon when they politic. If someone as their for shoot persona is politicking or being malfeasant or anything like that, we reserve the right to judge the human and judge them on their character. But when we're making fun of Ryback, it's not because we think Ryan Reeves is a bad human. Even if he is on Tinder trying to hook up with chicks in Las Vegas, which seems like a surefire way to win the herpes sweepstakes.
he's the big guy.
I'll give you the meat hook, baby. I'm like a cat. I've got a barbed dick.
Feed me more. And then to, obviously we're on a light note right now, but to bring it back down, we lose Joni Laura, China. And as usually what takes place when like a pro wrestler passes away, the internet kind of floods with a lot of like great videos and great moments that they were a part of. And I mean, first off, China is the only woman to ever hold the WWF, WWE, whatever you want to call it, Intercontinental belt.
Mm-hmm.
And she did it twice.
Yeah.
And she's also, I feel like, the first woman in WWF history that was like seen as a legitimate threat. Like, she was beating dudes up.
Oh yeah, she was in
like
2 Rumbles too, wasn't
yes,
she? The
yes.
corporate Rumble, and then
Yes, she won the corporate Rumble to enter at
Yeah.
number 30 in the actual Rumble. And the pop that she got, watch that video today, when because it looked like Vince McMahon had won the corporate versus DX Rumble. And she was the last one in. And she eliminated him after Stone Cold came out and distracted Vince.
Yeah, yep. And that's like, I'm not, Anna, if you're listening, I'm not trying to like dig on you. This is a lighthearted thing as we talk about what China meant to us. But I was really thinking about it today, and I was like, man, we talked about for a while, obviously your girlfriend Anna going as China, and then you would go as HBK, and I would go as Triple H for Halloween. And so today I had this like fluttering nostalgia pain where I was like, oh man, I don't know, it just kind of brought it into relief.
No, I
for me.
thought
know
the
what
same
I mean?
thing, yeah. I thought the same thing as well.
It was just one of those small things where it's like, it would feel totally different to do it now, as opposed to then, like, we did it as like a lighthearted, like, oh, wouldn't this be fun for the three of us to do as like a group costume. And then just thinking about it now, I was like, wow, it's amazing how much everything changes with death. There's no better way to put it.
And looking back more at the career of China in the ring, she did work for New Japan after she left WWF at the time, and also did a stint in TNA in 2011. But she'll always be remembered, obviously, as the WWF star. Busted Jeff Jarrett's own guitar over his head, just like everybody that ever saw Jeff Jarrett on TV wanted to do. So that was kind of an everyman win.
Slap nuts.
Yeah, the pre-slap nuts.
Yeah.
Pre-nuts. Still just wearing those silver swim trunks.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And coming out with Deborah. But there is one thing I wanted to touch on in the passing of China. Triple H was on, Paul Levesque, Triple H, whatever you want to call him, was on Stone Cold's podcast. Was it last year? And Steve asked him, China, Hall of Fame material, what do you think? And the response was that, well, look at what she did after she left the WWF, she starred in a couple of adult films. To now, today, Triple H's response being she's definitely deserving of going into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And it reeks of what they did with Macho Man Randy Savage, who, the company didn't even recognize him, and then he passes away, and they're already trying to get him into the Hall of Fame. So, I feel like it's another instance, almost, of the WWF thinking that their fans are dumb, thinking that they can say this on the one hand, but as soon as someone passes away, it's all gumdrops and daisies, and there were never any issues with them, and I feel like it almost cheapens the person that goes into the Hall of Fame. Even though the Hall of Fame isn't a physical structure, it doesn't exist, it's more an idea. But I feel like it's more of a PC thing done by them. It's done for them to get publicity out of it, rather than really honoring the memory of the person.
Exactly. I mean, come on. You always tout that you can go on this fabulous network for $9.99 a month and find any back episode of whatever. So the podcast is on there for everyone to see, where you can see him saying the fact that she did adult films precludes her consideration for the Hall of Fame. When you can't say what the truth is, which is I'm married to the boss's daughter, and I had to keep the home fires burning, and I was being a typical 90s dude, D-Generation X, and, when people break up, there's two sides to every story, but so it's obviously a political issue in terms of his marriage, and there are varying reports on a lot of incidents with China and Triple H over the years. There was the most recent story where she went up to him at Roddy Piper's funeral and caused a scene, and some people say, yeah, she totally did. Some said it didn't go down like that. It's impossible to know other than if you were there, and even then, there are obviously people playing different sides of this. But I think you're absolutely right when you say, see, this is what we're talking about with sometimes you judge the person, not the gimmick. Mm-hmm. This is a judgment on Paul Levesque, because it's fine to say she should certainly be Hall of Fame material now. Say why you're doing it. Say, yeah, I know I said she shouldn't, but this changed some things. You're flat out admitting that it's politicking and you're still a dick. But because it's black and white. It's she's dead, and we know we can milk that for an emotional moment at the next Hall of Fame or whenever she goes in. I can see next year's class being Daniel Bryan and China.
Yep.
Being two of your superstars going in. And it's, on the one hand, you're like, yeah, you want her to finally get her day in the sun, but it's coming a day too late. It's coming at the worst moment, and as of this recording, we don't have any details on what happened. Some people are saying, freak incident, and then apparently there are some people who are speculating, and quote, that her personal demons got the better of her. Mm-hmm. And like I said, whenever there's a relationship, it's a two-way street. I'm sure she's not or wasn't blameless in some things that happened in her relationship with Triple H, but it felt like one of those things where you've got a bunch of friends and you've got two people within there who are dating, and then they break up and everybody turns on the one person and they paint this picture of that individual as a crazy, as the black sheep, as persona non grata. And there's probably some of that going on with China. And there's probably some of it that was legit. I mean, she has been clear about substance abuse in her past, and it's a difficult thing. And we're not here to cast judgment on the recently deceased, because the fact of the matter is, as a wrestling character, she was legendary, and she was a trailblazer. And for the fact that we've got a Divas Revolution going on now, she helped clear that trail. It's like the Jungle Book, where they say we respect the elephants because the elephants cleared this forest and made it livable for us. China came through and changed the landscape so that these women could do what they wanted to do. You can argue about her in-ring abilities all day you want, but the fact of the matter is, this is a human life that was lost. We're sad for her, we're sad for her loved ones, and we're sad because we lost another great. We really did.
Yeah, and not only a great, but a great from an era that really rings so true and so close to home for wrestling fans of our age that grew up in that era as well.
Yeah, I don't know, it's hard to process, and it sometimes it feels hypocritical to even be talking about it, because I've certainly not on this program never been like, I'm the biggest China mark and da-da-da-da-da. But I can also say confidently that I've never talked shit about her, because I am very sympathetic to what she's gone through, because I have a lot of addicts who are close to me, and I have seen what happens there. And it's not even just that. Again, I go back to what happened to her. She loved the wrestling business. She loved WWF, WWE, and she got blackballed. And whether part of that is on her behavior or it's people being cruel because they're in a position of power, I'm sure it's a mixture therein, and it's just hard. It's hard to watch. It's hard that this is the way it ended. It'd be one thing if she lived a long and happy life and never reconciled with WWE, but it's just gross to watch the Vultures. Of all people, the one who gave the most authentic response to me was Stephanie McMahon. The one who's historically had the biggest beef with her just came out and said, yo, condolences, sorry about it. She didn't get out there and go, oh, we were so close and she needs to be in the Hall of Fame. She was just like, we have to acknowledge it. Be the bigger woman. It sucks that it took her mortality to bring this about, but I don't know. It left a really bad taste in my mouth as far as Triple H is concerned.
Yeah, and I had worried. I saw this last night on Twitter before I went to bed that she'd passed away, and I was very worried about how WWE was going to handle it. And it looks like they're going to do exactly the same way that they've done to other things. And this is certainly not to make light of the situation or anything, but I know we didn't want to get to Ring of Honor here before this show ends, but one last kind of funny thing to leave on looking at her career biography. In 2001, she was on Celebrity Fear Factor, and she lost in the final round to Coolio. So, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Did you ever watch, what was that fucking show? The Surreal Life, when she was on it?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Surreal Life. That was when I kind of started to vibe with Joni Laurer, the human. That's where we really saw what a fucked up place she came from. And not a judgment call. I'm saying, like, her upbringing.
Yeah.
We saw just... And it's authentic, you know what I mean? I can't tell you how many fucking people on the internet are like, yeah, well, it's easy to make her look better because we suddenly forget all about the horrible things she did. It's like,
what did she do? Yeah,
she did? Really? How about the horrible things that happened to her?
Yeah.
And you can disagree with making porn. You can disagree with drugs all you want. And there are health issues tied up in that. Obviously, like I said, I know a lot of addicts. I'm close to a lot of addicts. And to see them go through it, it's not something that they bring upon themselves willingly, because if they knew how bad it would hurt them and hurt their families, they probably never would have done it in the first place. But these things have a funny way of infiltrating your life. Circumstance has a funny way of fucking with you. So rather than speaking out against her and against her memory just because we feel like, well, someone's got to keep the balance, why don't you just shut the fuck up the next time you have a thought like that?
Yeah, and hopefully, word comes out, in the upcoming days, and we'll talk about it next week. That hopefully her death was not an overdose or anything like that.
Yeah, and it's for me, it's not going to change anything. If she committed suicide, if she overdosed on drugs, or if she had a brain aneurysm or something, it's not going to change for me the fact that it's tragic. She led a tragic life, and losing her sucks. So I don't want to see people gloating if she really did take her own life, because that just fucking what a terrible subset of humanity that you want to told you so on the way that someone died. You know what I mean?
Especially someone that you're not connected to in any way. Just
Yeah.
that you know of them because of their celebrity status. Which we
Yeah,
see all too often.
Exactly. And we talked earlier about Prince, and it's like I was saying before, when a pop culture figure is all that you've got in a certain moment, they do become a part of your family. They become a part of your life. And I certainly feel that way about DX. Like I said, I don't want to be hypocritical and turn into the biggest China mark ever and be WWE, but I mean, I'm a huge DX mark, and she was integral to that. And so it did. They felt like your goofball friends that you can count on, I got detention, and they're like, oh, we're going to get you out of it. Don't worry, buddy. Like, it was this comforting thing that she was absolutely a part of.
We're going to show the teacher our ass, and China's going to shoot him with a bazooka firework launcher.
We're going to wear cock socks and play with oversized summer sausages because we're basically 10. But, I mean, DX was a big thing for me. They were a bunch of spastic weirdos, and I totally vibe with spastic weirdos. So it's very, very sad to see China go.
Yeah, we are, obviously thoughts and prayers are with her, her family, and that. Before we do hop off here this week on episode 8 of the show, I think we're on 8? Mm-hmm. 9? 8? All right. I know that Gary, you want to talk a little bit about the Ring of Honor Global Wars card that is coming up.
Yes.
So yeah, hit us with it.
Okay. Well, this Sunday, April 24th, is the Ring of Honor Global Wars pay-per-view, and it continues their working partnership with New Japan. And we have some very interesting matches, so without further ado, here's the card. You've got the champion Jay Lethal taking on Colt Cabana for the ROH World Championship. War Machine, current champions, are taking on the Briscoes for the ROH World Tag Team Championship. Here's a great one. Jushin Thunder Liger and Cheeseburger are taking on the Addiction, Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian. As much as I'm trying to follow Ring of Honor more closely, I have not seen a Cheeseburger match, but am I crazy, or is he a man who wrestles in a cheeseburger costume?
I have no idea.
Because that's sticking out, and I don't know if that's just echoes of Adam Rose, echoes of love, or if this is legitimately a man who wrestles dressed as a cheeseburger. But I guess we'll find out on Sunday. Tomohiro sorry.
Doesn't look like it.
It's not? Ah, damn it. And now I'm just thinking of Cheeseburger Eddie from The Longest Yard.
He wears like a vest. At least the thing I'm seeing is like a vest with like a cheeseburger. What'd you call it? A patch on it. Maybe like a fast food worker's vest. I don't know.
Oh. I got fries that'll melt your eyes. I got shakes that'll make you quake. I got burgers that... I just got burgers. That's the best part of that movie. Tomohiro Ishii versus Bobby Fish for the ROH television title. Ishii, of course, the champion. Kelly Klein versus Crazy Mary Dobson, one of my favorite female wrestlers, in an internet-exclusive Women of Honor pre-show match. So we got some work to do to get him on the main card, but it's great to see Crazy Mary having a match. I would die if she came to NXT. That'd be amazing. She did have one match there, but it'd be great to get her full time. Also scheduled to appear, IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Tetsuya Naito, IWGP World Tag Champs The Gorillas of Destiny, which is Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, and IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champ, all caps, Kushida.
So, do we think that these scheduled appearances will result in matches, or because this is an iPay-per-view and there are only 5 matches announced so far. I'm not sure what the Ring of Honor TV schedule is like, so I don't think we're gonna get a Ring of Honor TV before the show Sunday, correct?
No, I don't think so. But this is what I think is going to happen.
It's May 8th.
What's May 8th?
The show.
Is it? The thing
Yeah.
I said this Sunday. Huh. Well, I might be wrong.
So
I'm probably wrong.
if it's that case, then the scheduled to appear guys will probably fill out into matches there.
True. And if it isn't, if on the off chance that I am right and they're just scheduled to appear without matches, what I think could be happening is them shooting angles for Death Before Dishonor this summer, because I think that's the next time that they're going to have a big ROH New Japan crossover.
Ah.
So, I don't know. I'm also probably just a dumb human.
They're doing a show in Toronto on the 11th that Kenny Omega's going to be at as well.
Ooh. I like that.
So again, yeah, keep your eyes and ears peeled for Ring of Honor Global Wars. Gary, before we go this week, what do you see? We've got Raw coming up on Monday. We'll have Gallows and Anderson make their Raw debut in ring. We talked so much about Finn Balor potentially showing up at Payback. Do you think WWE shoots their load prematurely and we see a Finn Balor sighting on Monday?
Well, it's the classic story of the head and the heart. Also, great music.
Yeah, I'll be seeing them next Saturday.
Oh, you bastard. That sounds awesome. So, my head says, yeah, WWE will absolutely shoot their wad because they want to boost the ratings for Raw. But my heart says they'll do the right thing. They'll keep up with this amazing streak they've been on of great Raws with good storytelling. They will continue to tell this story, and they'll take us all the way to Payback, and that'll be your last moment. Your last visual at the pay-per-view is going to be Finn Balor flanked by Gunn and Gallows giving the fucking Bullet Club gun to the finger guns to AJ and Roman. And that's what takes us into Raw the next day. That's what I'm hoping for, and I think if they're smart, that's what they're going to do.
I think we have a very good chance at seeing that. I think we have a great chance of seeing that. But I also think that we could see maybe Finn Balor pop up at Raw.
What if they have Baron Corbin beat him in a 3-minute squash?
Yeah, there we go. And have Fandango come in and pin him after. We are all over social media. We're on Facebook, The Great American Cast, Twitter at Great USA Cast. Our YouTube channel is The Great American Cast. All of our episodes are up on YouTube. Gary, hit him with your Twitter info. Personally, we haven't done this one in a little while.
That's true. My personal Twitter is at birds r the letter R dinosaurs, and you will know me by my name on there, Muffin Sangria. And if you can, without Googling it, figure out where that's from, you don't win anything, but I appreciate you, and we're kindred spirits, and you have my love.
Respect.
From across cyberspace, you have my sweet, hot, binary love all over your face.
Cyber respect. I am at Tanner Ace. All one word.
So let me tell you something, at Tanner Ace. Before we go, I want to throw down a gauntlet here, a challenge, if
All
you
right.
will. I want you and Steven and Mitch and Molly and anyone else with the intestinal and or ovarian and or testicular fortitude to sit through a WWE Studios original to get your hands on a copy of WWE's Countdown starring Dolph Ziggler and Kane. I'll do the same. We're going to sit down and watch them, and we're going to talk about them on the next show.
Deal.
Done.
Deal. So you can look forward to that next week, folks, because I already have a bad feeling about this one.
Oh, me too. It's sudden death all over again.
But I love Sudden Death. Great movie.
I do too.
I feel like this one's going to be more like, mid-second period.
Yeah. Instead of the Penguins mascot, it's going to be Rusev.
I would love to see... Actually, I'm interested now. A scene of Dolph Ziggler shoving Rusev through an industrial dishwasher.
I want to see Rusev and the Pittsburgh Penguins mascot fight. I want to see them have a match at SummerSlam.
Rusev is a big Predators fan, so depending on how those teams do in the playoffs that are going on right now, we could see that in the Cup Finals.
Stupid American Penguin.
All right, one more time. He's Gary Lannister. I am Tanner Acebo. No guests for you this week because we wanted to talk to you, just the two of us. Again, at Great USA Cast on Twitter, Great American Cast on YouTube and on Facebook. Gary, it's been a great time catching up with you.
It has been a pleasure.
And a little bit different this week, we are going to go ahead and let Prince take you home.